Hello and welcome. My name is Charles Dawson. I'm presenting today for AutoSense, and we are really proud to be involved with Brake, and I guess as a group all trying to make roads safer around the world. My topic today is using smart technology to make roads safer, and I guess we're focusing in on the Guardian system by Seeing Machines, which is a system that goes into vehicles and is looking to pick up when drivers' attention is moved from the road, or in fact if they actually have a microsleep and fall asleep at the wheel. The whole system is designed to pick that up, to intervene and to get the driver's attention back on the road, essentially to be a buddy for that driver and to help them and other road users out. I'd like to kick off today talking a little bit about a case study that we had with one of our clients here in New Zealand. So AutoSense first started distributing the Seeing Machines system in around about the year 2000. Essentially, when we first started to distribute the Guardian system, the plan was that we would do a two-phase trial. The first month, essentially installing the system and picking up events, fatigue events. So essentially, when someone has a 1.5 second microsleep, we'd be picking that up, measuring that, but not alarming and intervening in the actual event itself. So we wouldn't be waking the driver up. In the second month, we would turn on the alarms, and we'd be not only picking the events up, but also intervening and waking the drivers up and sending all the information through. So this sounded like a great idea until on the very first evening of the trial, we picked up a 9-second microsleep. Now, obviously, we weren't intervening. We didn't have any internal in-truck alarms turned on. And so we actually had a 9-second microsleep, which really did have to be seen to be believed. My first conversation the next morning when I saw this event with my client was that we must turn on all the alarms and actually start waking these drivers up. So we've never done one of those trials again. Basically, all systems that are installed now go in a live mode. So I guess the story there, or the point to be picked up there, is this situation of drivers having microsleeps. It really does happen all the time, and you never can pick when that's going to come along. So our motto, I guess, or what AutoSense and Seeing Machines are all about, is getting your people home safely every trip. So every time someone is out driving a vehicle, and while we concentrate a lot on truck drivers and heavy commercial vehicles, this area around microsleeps and also distraction really is a human problem. It's not a truck driver problem. It's very much every person that gets behind the wheel is exposed to this. So Guardian is all about having your best mate in the passenger seat to remind you to concentrate on the road, and just to I guess tell you that you need to actually stop for a break. So we're measuring when people's eyes move from the road, when they're not actually concentrating on the task at hand, and reminding them that driving, when you're driving a vehicle, the driving of the vehicle is the most important thing that you're doing at that particular point in time. So Seeing Machines is an Australian company based out of Canberra. The original technology, the algorithm was originally developed to put eyes into robots. That was all quite difficult and not necessarily commercially viable. So we started using the algorithm to actually detect our face and to understand what we were looking at, and also obviously when those eyes closed. So essentially, as I say, the most important part of what the Guardian system does is it intervenes and stops an accident. I guess you might say that dash cams and cameras in vehicles of the past were all about at the bottom of a cliff and telling us what actually happened to end up with that vehicle in a situation having had a crash, whereas Guardian looks to be the fence at the top of the cliff and to actually stop the crash at that point. Essentially, if you don't have technology like this in the vehicle, you really are relying on luck. And I know a number of the other speakers today will talk about, I guess, taking fatigue as an example, the big iceberg, where the tip of the iceberg is essentially what companies and fatigue management plans can actually look to manage, whereas the iceberg under the water, the majority of it is all about people's preparation for their day and what else is going on in their lives. So once we're in that vehicle, if we don't have, if we're not properly prepared for work, we really are relying on being lucky on that particular day to not actually have an accident at that point or have a crash. So as far as AutoSense is concerned, we have installed just on 2,900 Guardian units and vehicles in New Zealand. And across the world, it's around about 30,000 vehicles that are installed totally by Seeing Machines. A majority of those are in Australia with around about 16,000 now. In New Zealand, with the 2,900 vehicles that we have installed, we are picking up between about 25 to 30 microsleeps that have been validated by our team every 24 hours. So it's 25 to 30 times per day in 2,900 vehicles that we actually are waking someone up. So if you extrapolate that out into the number of vehicles that are running around New Zealand roads, you can see that there really is a massive issue out there. So what does the Guardian system look like? So the top picture you can see there is what we call the in-cab sensor. So it tracks the face essentially as soon as the vehicle starts up. The infrared camera in the system locks on to the driver's face and essentially tracks it. So you can move around, up, down, doesn't matter what size driver you are, tall, short, all those sorts of things. The system will lock on and start to track you. As I say, it is an infrared camera, so therefore, obviously at night or with sunglasses, etc., we can carry on and track the eyes at that stage. You can see also on the camera there's a red camera button, and that's what we call a manual capture button. So the driver can actually click that when they want to, if they want to record something that's going on out on the road. So they've been cut off by someone or something strange has happened in that space. The second picture there is the vibration motor, and that's really, really important. When we do go to sleep, obviously the ears turn off or aren't so sensitive, and so it's really important that we have some physical vibration to actually wake up the driver when they do fall asleep at that stage. So that will run when an event is triggered. So you can see here the in-cab sensor at the bottom there, the driver-facing camera that is installed, and also up the top is the forward-facing camera. So they work in conjunction. Essentially, any time that the in-cab sensor grabs some images, then the forward-facing camera will be doing the same. So how does it work? Look, from a driver point of view, it's actually really quite straightforward. So the driver-facing camera, which is mounted on the dash, they can also now be vertically mounted on the A-pillar. Essentially, it uses face and gaze tracking algorithms to measure the driver's head position and how their eyes are going. So what we say is that when the eyes close to 70% of their normal open aperture, then they close for that 1.5 seconds, then the system will actually create what we call a fatigue event or a microsleep event. That means that there will be an audible alarm and also a vibration of the seat. So that's 1.5 seconds worth of eye closure above 10 kilometers an hour. We'll trigger those alarms and wake the driver up. From a distraction point of view, so if people are looking out at the footpath or if they're looking at a device in the cab, then basically what we're looking for there is 4 seconds looking away from the road over 30 kilometers an hour. Now, in both cases, we will take that bit of footage. The alarms will run in the cab. They do that locally straight away. We'll take that bunch of footage and we'll send it up to our 24/7 Guardian centres, which are based both in Tucson, Arizona, and also in Canberra in Australia. And our team there, really highly trained analysts, will actually have a look at the event and get an understanding whether it is passing through as a fully verified event. And if that is the case, in the case of a fatigue event, we will then be giving the drivers dispatch a phone call to let them know that one of their drivers has had an issue at that point. So fatigue, and I know some of this has probably been covered by some of the other presenters, but I guess the one piece here that I wanted to add is that a couple of things that we're really starting to understand more and more about fatigue. And as I mentioned earlier, that most fatigue or most sleepiness in cab is actually brought in from a driver's home life, I guess. And one of the things that really backs it up for us is that 70% of our fatigue events actually occur in the first hour of a driver's shift. So typically where a lot of people would think it happens after they've been driving all day, and certainly there are some that happen at the end of the day, but the majority of our events happen in that first sort of hour of the shift, and actually often at the very beginning of a week as well. So typically in New Zealand and Australia, and in fact most places around the world, the one legislated piece of fatigue management is the cumulative working hour rules, or the logbook. But as you can see, if 70% of our fatigue events, our microsleeps, are happening in the first hour, and then that driver, in fact, in New Zealand, for example, is allowed to then go and drive for 14 hours with a couple of breaks, it really is defeating that purpose. So what logbooks actually do is to give a false sense of security and potentially actually stop drivers from managing their fatigue in the best way they possibly can, which may be to have a nap at somewhere outside of the sort of the prescribed timing. So there's been a lot of study done on this, and one of the latest ones in conjunction with Seeing Machines was actually out of Monash University. There were a number of things that came out of that. One was that we found this, truck drivers are twice as likely to crash when they're fatigued, and 11 times more likely to crash when both fatigued and distracted. Now, some of the other things that actually got covered off in that research was that what we're looking to do now with the Guardian system, where at the moment we are actually looking at, I guess, being the fence at the top of the cliff, waking those drivers up when they do fall asleep. What this study was actually aimed at was taking the technology to the next level and actually starting to be able to identify when a driver is becoming fatigued. So not waiting until they fall asleep, but actually going, well, here are various factors, eyeball movements, shape, and how the face is drooping down, those sorts of things, blood pressure. These are all the things that we know happen as someone becomes fatigued, and then perhaps we can actually get them to start to, or I guess, inform the driver so that they can make better decisions about when they should actually take a break, and that way they never actually get to that point where they're so tired that they're making mistakes, reaction time's down, but in the end they're falling asleep. So here's just a list of some of the articles and things that I've talked about within the presentation. The technology, we're really proud of it. It really is making a big difference, and we have a number of customers that have done case studies whereby they've actually found just absolutely massive drops in accident rate or crash rates, and that's obviously helping not only things like insurance premiums, but also really meaning that people aren't going through that terrible situation when there is a crash, whether it be the driver of the vehicle itself or in fact the other road users out there. So look, thanks very much for your time today. Very, very keen to answer any questions or queries that you might have on the system, and just really keen to really help with the likes of Brake to reduce the tragedy that we see on the roads every day.